Welcome to a series of videos called The Waterfall Journey. First thing we're going to do is explore God's story. This book, the Bible, isn't the complete record of God's story. It's a part. It's mainly the handbook of his relationship with his children. God's story began in the midst of time and goes on to an eternity. And we have some clues about what happened before the Bible began within the pages of this Bible. Have a look at the slide. This is a timeline of God's story. It goes from the left to the right. In this first half, we see that in the beginning there was a heavenly realm. The heavenly realm was created by God to have all the fullness of who he was present in that realm. We know that it had a hierarchy. There were archangels and angels. There was the Trinity. It was characterized by who God is. But we know that into that heavenly realm there came rebellion. And the rebellion came from one particular archangel, Lucifer, who decided that he wanted more. He wanted power. We see a bit of this story in Isaiah in chapter 12. Let me read to you. Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 to 14. Shining morning star, how you have fallen from the heavens, you destroyer of nations. You have been cut down to the ground. You said to yourself, I will ascend to the heavens. I will set up my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the God's assembly in the remotest parts of the north. I will ascend above the highest clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Lucifer, and morning star means Lucifer, saw in the heavenly realm power that he wanted. And therefore he rebelled, and we get these very aggressive, these very statements that are so full of pride. I will, because he wants to break the harmony that is in the heavenly realm. And we know from Revelation, again, let me read to you. Revelation chapter 12, verses 7 to 9. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels also fought, but he could not prevail, and there was no place for them in heaven any longer. And so the great dragon was thrown out, the ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the one who deceives the whole world. He was thrown out to earth, and his angels with him. As we see in the slide, Lucifer could not remain in the heavenly realm. He was thrown out to earth after this mighty battle in heaven. And that's the first subplot of God's story. But the second subplot begins. You see, God is love, and the characteristic of love is it must be shared. Love isn't love if you're holding on to it. And what God wanted was a family. He wanted a family who would love and be loved. He wanted children who would love him, who would be in the family business, who would be working alongside him. And so he created Adam and Eve, and he put them in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden, again, had all the fullness of all the things that God could put and create in order to give to his children a place of beauty and wonder. It was a place where the Father walked with his children. It was a relationship that held everything. But we know too that into this story came rebellion. We know that in the fall that Adam and Eve broke the rules that God had made, and they too had to be put out of Eden to walk the earth. And this is where the two subplots of God's story collide, because Lucifer, now Satan, is down, prince of the world, and God has put his children down and out into the world. Their first thing, the intention of God, was for them to work alongside him, to be everything. Let's go back to what we mentioned in the introduction, that the God's first commission was to bless his children, for them to be fruitful and to multiply, to fill the earth and subdue it. And subdue it because he knew that Satan was down on the earth now. God's original intention was for his children of light to grow in that relationship with him. When they had multiplied, they would move out of the borders of Eden. And then they would overcome, light would overcome darkness, and Satan would be defeated. But because of the rebellion, the two are put out. Adam and Eve are put out, and we have now walking the earth, Adam and Eve and the devil. So in the Old Testament times, God is working with his people. He hasn't given up on his children. What he's doing is he is choosing a nation and choosing specific people upon whom the Holy Spirit moves in order to bring to fruition a rescue plan. Because in every good story, when there's jeopardy, there's a rescue plan. God has prepared his people, and God has got the best that he has to send to rescue us, his Son. So he sends Jesus Christ. After the time of the cross, we, his people, have got a choice about who we serve, under whose lordship we live. We can live under the Prince of Darkness, or we can live under the lordship of Christ. What we're going to learn on this waterfall journey is how to live here on earth now under the lordship of Jesus Christ. We know that the timeline, because of the Bible, of God's story, is moving us to end times, when there will be a battle, when God's people will be the army. Jesus will come. There will be a battle in which Satan will be defeated forever. And after that time, again, all the fullness of everything that God has will flourish on this earth. And every knee will bow under the lordship of Jesus. But this means that we people have a choice. We can choose who we serve. What it also means is that we are going to be the army who fights the last battle. God calls us a royal priesthood, a holy nation. So not only must we be ready to be army, to be fighting, to know our chief, to understand, to know how to play our part, but also we're a holy nation. There's a way we live, and the way that we are is important in this journey. In order for us to be ready as a people, much work is to be done. You go into any church in any part of the world, and those who know Jesus are wounded and hurt. When that is so, we are not ready to fight the battle. We need to know our commander. We need to let him change and heal us, to restore the broken image, to make us who he designed us to be, in order that we are going to be ready for Jesus' return. So what we learn, what we do day by day matters to when Jesus will return. How we move on the journey is important. How we develop our relationship with our living God, how we understand why we're here, what we are supposed to do, what our part is in the family business, that God has got a place for each one of us with work to do for him. Once we know that, once we can live in that, once we are flowing in that, as whole and restored people, the sooner that Jesus can come again. So all that we're going to learn has a particular significance. God is saying something really special here. Sometimes we think, as we walk this earth and serve him, that God is a remote being, and we drag him down into our story when we're in need. But actually what's going on is God is inviting us into his story. He needs us to join him because he's chosen to use his children in his own story. What he's calling us to is to join him in this bigger picture, to be everything that he designed us to be.